Hi everyone, this is Chinmay Bhatt, Assistant Professor of Chemistry. I'll be displaying videos related to BSc third semester General Chemistry papers. We'll start with chromatography. I think most of you have heard this word chromatography, but maybe not that familiar because you must have studied other separation techniques but may not have studied chromatography in detail. So chromatography, the term, what it describes, chroma means color, graph means to write. Chroma, that something to do with color. This chromatography, that word itself describes it's something to do with color. So it's a separation technique. Chromatography is a technique used to purify, separate a chemical mixture. It was first invented in 1900 by Michael Schwarz. He was an Italian-born chemist. It was discovered in Russia. So now, as I told you, it is something to do with separation of mixture or purify organic and inorganic compounds. Now, why to purify organic or inorganic or any chemical mixture? Why to purify the components? Why to purify the mixture? That's the biggest question which comes to your mind. Because you may think that whatever is available you can use as such without purifying. What happens to that? What happens if you use without purifying? Why every time purification is necessary? So one thing that you should realize, that all the pharmaceutical medicines, all the drugs which are available, they are all in the pure form. All pharmaceutical companies need the required drugs in almost 100% purity. And in HPLC grade it is described 99.99% purity. That much purity sample is required for the synthesis of drugs, for the synthesis of medicinally active compounds. So when you describe the medicinal property of certain compound, it may be like paracetamol. So we talk about the extremely pure paracetamol. Or when you talk about the medicinal characteristic of cisplatin, a very good anti-cancer compound, first inorganic anti-cancer compound. We talked about the 100% or 99.99% extremely pure cisplatin. We don't talk about something which is impure or contaminated with some other components. It's a pure component which is responsible for that particular medicinal characteristic. This is very important aspect from all the medicinal point of view, from all the medicinal chemistry point of view. And the second one is to define the physical and chemical properties. I think the physical properties of compound, it may be organic or inorganic. The boiling point, melting point, surface tension, viscosity, all these. When you talk about boiling point of acetone, which is close to 56 degrees Celsius, I mean. So we say that pure acetone. And we say water. Water in the boiling point is close to 100 degrees Celsius at 1 atmosphere. That means pure water. We don't talk about impure water. So you know how the boiling point or the melting point varies with the presence of impurities. Okay, again the chemical properties like reaction with certain enzymes, when it goes to the body, how it interacts with other proteins. It all depends on how pure your component is, how pure your particular required compound is. And again for the synthesis of new structural entities, yes, all pharmaceutical companies or when you do R&D, so you need to synthesize certain intermediates or certain target compounds. So they all need something which is very pure in the beginning, otherwise there may be complication at the end. But all the solvent used for various synthetic purposes should be essentially pure. Why? Because otherwise they create problems. All these solvents, whatever you use for the synthetic purpose or other purification purpose, they should be extremely pure. Otherwise they ingress into the components and they spoil the reaction mixture. I think the different methods of purification, I think 11th, 12th standard you have studied, again in BSc 1 you have studied, BSc, somewhere in BSc you must have studied distillation and crystallization. I think these two you are already familiar with. Again, under distillation, different types of distillation like fractional distillation, either whatever, which use steam distillation. So general method used for purification of the solvent, mainly for the solvent and liquid components, can be purified by using distillation method. And another one is mainly for solid compounds, crystallization and decrystallization. And then comes chromatography. It can be used over the wide range of compounds. It can be liquid as well as solid. You can use it for all type of components, all type of compounds. It may be organic or inorganic or simply ionic compounds, whatever. This can be used for all type of compounds. It's widely used by all pharmaceutical companies as well as all the research laboratories. Three terms you should remember or you should keep in mind when you talk about chromatography technique. One is the stationary phase, another one is the mobile phase, and third one is separated components. The term itself, describes each one what it is. Suppose you talk about stationary phase, something which is stationary, it doesn't move. It can be solid or liquid supported over solid. So mostly they are solid or liquid supported over solid. They are stationary phase. Another one is mobile phase, which moves across the stationary phase. So it's mobile phase which is dilute. It moves through the stationary phase and passes through. Then third one is separated components, or the components which you purified, or the components which are purified and coming at the end. They are called separated components. There are various types of chromatography. In your syllabus, I think there are only 5 types. Yes, paper thin layer chromatography or TLC, column, gas and high performance liquid chromatography, HPLC. But remember, there are almost 11 types, and more than that it can be if you go through the literature. Paper chromatography, thin layer, column, gas, high performance, ion exchange, gel permeation, affinity chromatography, diligent chromatography, hydrophobic interaction chromatography, pseudo affinity chromatography. These are some of the important types of chromatography. We will go one by one, which is as per your syllabus. The first one, it starts with paper chromatography. Introduction to paper chromatography, the definition itself says something to do with the paper and chromatography. Separation of colored substance or chemical substance need not to be colored every time. I am reiterating this. Chemical substances using paper as a stationary phase. Here the stationary phase is paper. It was invented by Martin and Singe in 1943 as per the research record available. Then the research related to the identification of plant constituents. When he was working on some of the plant constituent isolation, some pigments which were extracted from the plant, so he was working on isolation of that and separation of that, and this was invented during that time. Two things you have to keep in mind: the choice of paper and the choice of solvent. And in paper chromatography, in the sense, can you use any kind of paper? No. If you use just notebook paper, it may not work. Sometimes it can show you some separation, but it doesn't work properly. It doesn't give good separation. So you have to use some particular paper, not all kind of papers. You can use Whatman papers, which is pure cellulose papers, and there are various types of modified cellulose papers. Whatman modified, they are chemically modified, and they are loaded with different substance, the different adsorbent, and ion exchange material, and some synthetic organic resins, and there may be inorganic ion exchangers, and there are also glass fiber type papers. So these are the different types of papers which are used for the separation. And the choice of solvent, again, so when you use solvent for the separation, you should remember you can use wide variety of solvents. It may be polar, non-polar, it may be aqueous, non-aqueous. What you should keep in mind is the components what you are going to separate should be soluble in those solvents. If you are using only one type of solvent or two types or mixture of solvent, whatever, but that component should be soluble in the solvents which you prepare for the separation. Basically, there are three types of paper chromatography: ascending, descending, circular or radial paper chromatography. You can watch this small video. This will enable you to understand how paper chromatography works practically.
Here, one quick biochemistry basics here. Let's talk about paper chromatography. Paper chromatography is a common technique widely used for the separation of chlorophyll pigments, amino acids, DNA bases, etc. In paper chromatography, paper acts as a solid supporting material. The water molecules present in the pores of the paper acts as a stationary phase, while the mixture of different solvents such as ethanol, ether, etc. can be used as a mobile phase. The sample is applied on the paper using a capillary. Once the sample is applied, the chromatography can be carried out in different modes. The mode of operation of paper chromatography can be ascending mode, descending mode, radial mode, and a two-dimensional mode. In the ascending mode, the mobile phase solvent is kept at the bottom of the chamber. A small portion of paper is immersed in the mobile phase. The solvent in the mobile phase moves upwards due to the capillary reaction. During this process, the sample molecules get separated. Separation occurs because of the difference in the solubility of molecules in the mobile phase and the stationary phase. In the descending mode, the mobile phase solvent is kept on the top of the chamber. The solvent in the mobile phase moves downwards and separates the sample molecules. In case of radial paper chromatography, a wick is attached at the center of a circular paper. This wick remains submerged in the mobile phase. The wick absorbs the mobile phase solvent by capillary action. As the mobile phase moves throughout the paper in a radial fashion, the separation of the sample occurs radially. In case of two-dimensional paper chromatography, the chromatography is first carried out in one dimension. Once the chromatography is over, the paper is now rotated by 90 degrees and the chromatography is again carried out. The two-dimensional paper chromatography is widely used for the separation of amino acids.
I think you have enjoyed watching that video and you have understood how practically paper chromatography works. Now we'll discuss one by one. First one, which is ascending paper chromatography. As you have already seen, solvent ascends here. It goes upwards. That means it works against the gravity. The gravity, it is towards the earth direction, but solvent moves opposite to the gravitational force. So this is a bit slower and it gives a better separation, you should remember, because the slower is always better. You can see this is a solvent chamber with some solvent. Paper chromatography plate is kept inside or simply a paper cut is kept inside. Make sure your spotted components won't go inside the solvent. Solvent level should be below this line. Hope you have understood in the video. And these all three components are same here, spotted, because they are giving same compounds or same spots. So each one consists of three components. See here carefully. This spot, if you consider, or any spot you consider, they are separated into three components, or you can simply call three color components. That means they consist of three components or three color constituents, that is 1, 2, 3. They are separated. After moving through the plate, this component or this mixture is separated into various components. In descending paper chromatography, again, separation everything is same. How many components you have, they will be separated. But here solvent is run from the top. This is the chamber, solvent chamber. This is the plate, paper chromatography plate. or simply a paper. So you are putting solvent from the top and powering it through this pot. Now this pot moves towards gravity or earth. It is towards the gravitational pull. So this sample, after moving through it, will be separated into components. And in case of circular or radial paper chromatography, a wick is made at the center and the sample is also spotted here. Now this is kept inside the solvent chamber. This wick will be attached to the solvent. Solvent will rise through this wick and will reach the sample, and it will spread across this in the radial fashion. That's how it will be getting separated. I will come to that retardation factor or RF value. It's a very important factor in all the chromatographic techniques, and chromatography, each one will be having different RF factor, each component. Sometimes it may overlap, sometimes they may be having same, but most of the time, most of the component, when you talk about each component, individual component will be having different RF value. Now what is RF value? From the definition, it's the distance traveled by the component divided by distance traveled by the solvent. You can see here, this is the TLC, or it may be simple paper chromatography plate. So this is, now after the run, you can see the mixture is separated. One component is moved here. That indicates that it may be having only one component or other components are at the bottom. Now this is the solvent front. I mean, up to this we have run the solvent, and up to this compound has moved. So you can see that distance moved by the solvent is B, distance moved by the component from the mixture is A. Now RF is equal to distance traveled by the component divided by distance traveled by the solvent. That one traveled by the component is A divided by B. A by B is the RF value of this particular component. It's very easy, but one should take care while handling the chromatographic plate and while measuring this. If there is a tailing, sometimes spots won't come like this. It won't be circular like this. Sometimes it tails. So you can understand the spots, the nature of spots. Sometimes it can be like this. It will go tailing. So then what you should do, while taking this distance, you should consider the central part. You should not consider the tip or the base. Wherever that dense part is there, that part you should take. Then you should measure from the bottom, that is from where you spotted. Suppose you spotted here, it has moved up to this, and if it is staining like this, then take the center one or the densest part of this spot, then measure this distance, that is A now it will become. Okay, and that one moved by the solvent front, again you should be able to make out, because solvent front sometimes it is not seen. While it is in the chamber or just after removing the chamber, before drying the plate, you should find out where the solvent is run, up to what level it is run. So that level you should mark B. So RF is equal to A divided by B. So what will be the maximum value of RF now? When A is equal to B, so it can go up to this level at the most, because it cannot go beyond that. That spot won't be seen, because during the process mixture is taken up by the solvent. So solvent can take up to this level maximum, up to what it has moved. So when B is equal to A, or when A is equal to B, so that will become 1. So RF value, maximum value is this much, that is B divided by B it becomes, so it will be 1. So it cannot be greater than 1, it can always be less than 1 most of the time. The better run when you have 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 range, not too low like 0.01 and all, then it remains at the bottom. So A is too low, then again it's not a good run. Good run when you have something like 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.3 to 0.7 range, because then you can measure from here to here, you can properly measure the distance. Okay, now this is how you practically do the RF value calculation. See, a chromatographic paper is run here, and A, B, C. A, B are the two different components, and C is what it is. It's basically a mixture of A and B. You can see C is divided into two components, which is at these heights. That means C is just a mixture of A and B. So what will you do in the step 2? Just mark the heights here with some pencil, not pen. Remember, not any. You cannot use pen here. You have to use pencil. Solvent front is marked again with the pencil. All the heights up to what components have moved, they are marked with pencil. Then solvent front and this height you should measure. Now what is the solvent front distance? That is dm. This is from here to here. What is the distance traveled by A? That is dA. So what is the distance traveled by B? That is B. What is that traveled by two components each, dc1 and dc2. Okay, now RF value of A is distance traveled by A divided by solvent. That means dA divided by dm. RF value of B is dB divided by dm. RF of component 1 of component C is dc1 divided by dm, and of that 2 is dc2 divided by. You can watch one more video for better understanding.
Paper chromatography. Separate the colored components present in the mixture of red and blue inks by paper chromatography. We require a mixture of red and blue inks, distilled water, isopropyl alcohol, Whatman filter paper strip, pencil, scale, capillary tube, chromatographic chamber, etc. Take a Whatman filter paper strip. Draw a line with the pencil above 4 cm from one end. Draw another line lengthwise from the center of the paper and name the point at which the two lines intersect as P. Take a capillary tube. Dip it into the beaker containing the mixture of red and blue inks and take the mixture using the capillary tube. Put a drop of the mixture of red and blue inks at the point P. Allow it to dry in open air. Again, take the mixture of red and blue inks using the capillary tube. Put another drop on the same spot and dry it again so the spot is rich in mixture. Measure 5 ml of distilled water in a measuring jar. Pour it into the chromatographic chamber. Measure 5 ml of alcohol in another measuring jar. Put it into the chromatographic chamber containing distilled water. Mix the contents of the chromatographic chamber using a glass rod. This mixture is used as the solvent. Suspend the filter paper vertically in the chromatographic chamber containing the solvent in such a way that the pencil line remains about 2 cm above the solvent level. Close the chamber with its lid and keep it undisturbed for some time. Notice the rise in solvent along with the red and blue inks. When the solvent has risen to about 15 cm, you will notice two different spots of red and blue inks on the filter paper. Take the filter paper out of the chamber and mark the distance that the solvent has risen on the paper with a pencil. This is called the solvent front. Dry the filter paper in open air. Put pencil marks in the center of blue and red spots. Measure the distance of the solvent from the original line and the distance of the two spots from the original line. Calculate the RF values of blue and red inks by using the formula RF is equal to distance travelled by the solute from the original line divided by distance travelled by the solvent from the original line. Separation of pigments from the extract of spinach leaves by paper chromatography. We require extract of spinach leaves, distilled water, isopropyl alcohol, Whatman filter paper strip, pencil, scale, capillary tube, chromatographic chamber, etc. Take a Whatman filter paper strip. Using a pencil, draw a line that is above 4 cm from one end. Draw another line lengthwise from the center of the paper and name the point at which the two lines intersect as P. Take a capillary tube. Dip it into the beaker containing the extract of spinach leaves and take the mixture using the capillary tube. Put a drop of the spinach leaf extract at the point P and allow it to dry in open air. Again, take the extract of spinach leaves using the capillary tube. Put another drop on the same spot and dry it again so that the spot is rich in mixture. Measure 5 ml of distilled water in a measuring jar. Pour it into the chromatographic chamber. Measure 5 ml of alcohol in another measuring jar. Pour it into the chromatographic chamber containing distilled water. Mix the contents of the chromatographic chamber using a glass rod. This mixture is used as the solvent. Suspend the filter paper vertically in the chromatographic chamber containing solvent in such a way that the pencil line remains about 2 cm above the solvent level. Close the chamber with its lid and keep it undisturbed for some time. Notice the rise in solvent along with the leaf extract. When the solvent has risen to about 15 centimeters, you will notice different spots of the components of spinach leaf extract on the filter paper. Take the filter paper out of the chamber and mark the distance that the solvent has risen on the paper with a pencil. This is called the solvent front. Dry the filter paper in open air. Put pencil marks in the center of each spot. Measure the distance of the solvent front from the original line and the distance of the spots from the original line. Calculate the RF values of the different spots by using the formula. RF is equal to distance travelled by the solute from the original line divided by distance travelled by the solvent from the original line.
There are certain factors which affect RF value. I will show that with the TLC or chromatographic run diagram. It can be paper chromatography or TLC. So remember one thing, nowadays TLC is widely used, it is not the paper chromatography technique. I think long ago it was used. Nowadays all the industries R&D labs are using TLC, not paper chromatography, because of various consequences while using paper chromatography. So you consider a mixture here dipped in a particular solvent. It may be a mixture of some solvent or it can be a single solvent. Now you start running this mixture. This mixture can be A plus B, any two organic compound. After running certain time, this will be separated into two components, that is A and B. Now you know how to calculate RF value. This distance started by A divided by of the solvent will be the RF value of A. Similarly for B, distance started by B divided by that of the solvent. Okay. Now it depends on nature of adsorbent. Adsorbent means what here? It is the stationary phase. So here it is paper chromatography plate. Okay. What kind of stationary phase, what kind of paper you have used, it really matters. If it is acidic, basic, or it is modified with some other components, maybe ionic, all these things matter. While choosing, you should wisely choose based on the nature of mixture. Okay, second thing is polarity of the substance. Substance, how polar it is, that's very important. Remember, in a normal phase run, always low polar components will come upward and high polar components remain bottom. So again, if there are more components, the compound is much more polar than B will remain somewhere here. So by looking at this TLC plate or paper chromatography plate, you should be able to make that B is more polar than A. Nature of mobile phase. It always matters what kind of mobile phase you have chosen. Suppose you have taken hexane, only one solvent, then hexane is non-polar, that cannot make good separation. Then you start adding ethyl acetate, so you will be having hexane plus ethyl acetate. That we run this upward. Now this solvent should be able to dissolve A and B both, or A and B both, or this mixture should dissolve in the solvent. Then to get a better separation, you should wisely choose the right combination of the solvent. You cannot just use non-polar or polar or simply ionic or aqueous. You have to see how good mixture dissolves, and based on the polarity of A and B, you should select the polarity of the mobile phase. If they are highly polar, then what happens? Low polar solvent cannot take this upward. So you have to use bit high polar solvent like ethyl acetate, dichloromethane, methanol, like that. If they are low polar, you cannot use high polar. Then what happens? Low polar component will be taken upward and it goes at the solvent front. Then if these two are low polar, then you should use the solvent also low polar, like benzene, hexane, or hexane with a slight amount of ethyl acetate, like that. And nature of the mixture, that really matters. What kind of mixture you have taken. You should predict whether it is acidic or basic. What happens if it is basic and you are using stationary phase as acid, as you have seen in the first point? Then if this is basic, then there will be a strong combination with the stationary phase and it remains at the bottom. So this nature of mixture makes sense when you record this run. Thickness of the adsorbent layer. Of course, when you make this paper manually, certain TLC plates, and again paper chromatography papers, they are cut in the lab and manually they are made with some adsorbent. That time you should make sense that what is the thickness of this chromatographic paper. If it is very thick, then compound will be strongly adsorbed and run won't be normal. Some part will be get embedded in that, you won't be able to see a proper run. Amount of the substance loaded. Make sure you have loaded small amount of sample here, not high concentration. What happens when it is highly concentrated? It will be tailed here like this. You will get spot. You don't get proper or distinct spots. You will get tailing everywhere. And last one is dipping. How you dip it really matters. If you dip this with the solvent, if the solvent is touching this, then what happens? Some of them will get dissolved and will come to the solvent. So you should always make sense that you should always be careful while dipping this. This mixture should be above the solvent level. These are the importance and application of RF value. See, RF value is very important. One thing you should know that RF value is specific for a particular component. Suppose component A is having particular RF value, then it is same at all the time. Most of the cases it is same. Earlier days, researcher used to take this RF value as a literature data. Sometimes if you go to some botany lab and zoology lab or in biotech lab, they compare their specimen with the RF value with the existing literature. That time they use RF as a standard. That means see how reliable it is. Okay, these are some of the important applications of RF value. To check the purity of the given sample, you know that if the compound is very pure, then you will get only one spot. Okay, you don't get multiple spots. Suppose you have brought some sample from outside, you have ordered some Aldrich chemical and you brought that, it may be benzoic acid or it may be benzaldehyde. What you just do is, you just take the sample and spot it on the paper chromatography plate or thin layer chromatography plate. what you get, if you get a single spot, then it is pure. If you are getting more spot, that means it's a mixture, it is impure. And to monitor the progress of the reaction, this is very important. Now let me explain how this chromatographic technique or RF value will help us in monitoring the progress of a particular reaction. Now consider this reaction, conversion of ethyl benzoate to benzoic acid. It's a simple acid hydrolysis, conversion of COET to COOH. I place ester and acid in the reaction flask and heat it for some time. And after certain time, I really want to know whether the reaction is over or not. What I do, in the beginning I do put a reference TLC. I take ethyl benzoate and benzoic acid which is available in the lab and spot them and run it in some solvent. The ideal solvent can be like 20% ethyl acetate and hexane. After certain run, I take out and dry it and stain it, or I check it in UV because these two are UV visible. So I can see the spot corresponding to ethyl benzoate and spot corresponding to benzoic acid. Now this can easily be visualized that ethyl benzoate, of course it has to come at the top and this will be at the bottom because ethyl benzoate is low polar compared to benzoic acid. Now what I do after certain time, like 1 hour, if I want to check whether the reaction is over, I take this reaction mixture and spot here, and ethyl benzoate and benzoic acid, they are spotted and they are run. After run, this type of TLC is seen. So you can see there is no spot corresponding to ethyl benzoate in the reaction mixture side. You can see one spot which is corresponding to benzoic acid, nothing corresponding to ethyl benzoate. If there was a spot here at this level corresponding to ethyl benzoate, then I could have told that reaction is not over. But what happened? There is no spot at this height. There is only one spot corresponding to benzoic acid height. Now I can easily say that reaction is over and I can stop this reaction and do the workup. Other applications will be to compare the polarity of different organic compounds. Now suppose you want to compare the polarity between acetophenone and benzamide. You run the plate, chromatographic plate using acetophenone and benzamide, spot these two at the bottom and run it in some particular solvent. After certain time you remove the TLC or chromatographic plate and check it under UV or stain it. Then you can see the spots corresponding to acetophenone and benzamide. Acetophenone will be somewhere at the top and benzamide will be somewhere at the bottom. So what it indicates, acetophenone is having higher RF value compared to benzamide, and hence benzamide is more polar than acetophenone. So other applications will be to predict the nature of composition of the given organic mixture and to predict the existence of the required compound by comparing with the literature data. Suppose you have brought some sample, you just compare with the RF value. Suppose you already have some sample, you have brought some sample from the some outside lab. You just make a preliminary investigation. This is not a confirmatory test. Remember, RF value won't confirm anything, but it can predict something. Initially, it can predict whether the compound is existing or not. These are some of the references. Thank you.